Welcome to Aging on the Suncoast. I'm your host, Jason Martino. We now celebrate the 28th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act and what we commonly refer to as the ADA. This important piece of federal legislation is instrumental in recognizing individuals with disabilities and promoting meaningful independence throughout every community within our great nation. The Area Agency on Aging of Pasco and Pinellas partners with organizations that serve individuals with disabilities. Without these partners, we could not achieve our shared goal of promoting independence within the community, thus allowing individuals to live in the least restrictive environment. During the first segment of the show, we lost a small portion due to technical difficulties. To assist our viewers understand what types of resources are available to persons with disabilities, we've invited two longtime employees of the Disability Achievement Center, Jody Armstrong, the Director of Outreach, and Nicole Reed, the Director of Program Services, will speak to a variety of resources their organization provides individuals with disabilities. So let's join these two ladies in their interview in progress. There's a couple different organizations around the state and maybe even locally that serve individuals with disabilities. What separates your organization from their organizations?
Well, All Center for Independent Living, one of the main things that puts us apart is that we are 51% or more of our staff and our board of directors must be a person with a disability, so we are who we serve. We also serve all ages and all disabilities. So you can think of any of the other organizations as almost being a subcategory of who we are.
Yeah, sounds like it. And Nicole, you and I were talking a little bit before the show, and we were talking about the people that you do serve and anything. Can you help illustrate what that looks like?
Well, I can tell you that we served 1,100 consumers last year.
1,100.
So those are folks that have actually come in, they've filled out the paperwork, they've developed the independent living plan, they've identified goals, and received services.
That's an amazing amount of people, 1,100 folks that you were serving, all individual folks, and with all the cool programs that you guys have going on. Huh?
And since we're all ages and all disabilities, we also break down by how many seniors that we serve.
Sure. And we served 60% last year. There were seniors over
So of the 1,100, you served 60% were people that were seniors? So what do you, in our world, we call seniors 60 and older.
60 and over.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
some of the 60-year-olds probably don't like that sometimes.
True.
Yeah, so you have the same age breakdown for when it comes to that? So 60% of that 1,100 was seniors. That's roughly 700 individuals. That's awesome. And a little bit later on, we're going to talk about some of the cool programs that you do actually serve those folks with. My agency could not serve the population that we serve alone. Can your agency?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. We have a strong collaboration with several other agencies and working together. We know who's where, and they know us as well. So if somebody doesn't know where to begin with a disability, we do. And if we can't help that person, we know where to refer them to, just like you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a lot of what we do is through our helpline. We'll have folks call up, and we're able to either serve them with programs that we have, or we put them to the right agencies such as yours that are going to help them serve them. And we believe in that holistic approach because humans are comprehensive, and a lot of the things that they manifest when they're coming to the table looking for help or in a crisis type of situation, you have to serve them with a whole melody of types of services. Not melody, but you know what I'm saying. APD, an acronym that we use a lot because sometimes we don't want to say the whole thing, but it's the Agency for Persons with Disabilities. Is that another group that you work with?
We do work with them, yes. They serve people with developmental disabilities mainly. They have to have a diagnosis, and there's only certain disabilities that they do work with, and that would be autism, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, Prader-Willi syndrome, and Phelan-McDermott syndrome.
Yeah, and unfortunately they've been on past shows with us so they can talk a little bit more critically and a little bit more in depth about some of the things that they do. They weren't able to make this show today, but I got their assurance that we could talk about it a little bit because they provide a good amount of services within the community for people with intellectual disabilities and also with developmental disabilities. And with my experience with them, I've learned that they are legislatively mandated, similar to you, where they are the state agency serving individuals with disabilities. And they have a wealth of different funds that they use, and I won't go into great detail, but I know that Medicaid waiver is a big one, and I know that we're going to run some graphics where people will have that information where they can also contact them in addition to contacting yourself. How about, do you know where Agency for Persons with Disabilities is located? I know that you're in Largo and you serve 2 different counties.
Right. They're in Hillsborough, and they serve what they call the Suncoast region, which I believe is 11 counties, and that includes Pinellas and Pasco.
Yeah. And when I was, if I'm remembering correctly, that they serve these different regions with different specialties over there. As a matter of fact, I think, if I remember correctly, that their region had something like 10 or 11 different counties in there, and very similar to how an area agency on aging, being a byproduct of the Department of Elder Affairs, serves our region. It's all predicated upon demographics and this and that.
Right.
Yeah. Eligibility for your programs, and we don't have to talk about some of the micro programs on there too, but what is the eligibility to get into a program for the Disability Achievement Center?
If you have a disability, that's a self-stated, self-identified disability, and you need assistance, we're going to try to find you the assistance that's appropriate and what you need to get you continue to move on your life productively.
Yeah. And does that, you're saying self-identified, so does that mean that I can just simply come up to you and say that I have a disability and I need some help in areas? Or,
Absolutely.
Yeah? Or do
Absolutely.
I need to furnish documentation and everything else to support that?
Nope. No documentation required.
No?
Any age, any disability.
Yeah. What about costs? I know as a consumer, I'm always thinking about costs. As the area agency on aging, we have a lot of our services are free, and some of them are in a kind of a sliding scale based upon income and all that. What's the cost for some of the cool services that you offer?
I am proud to say all of our services are free to the consumer.
Get out of here.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. Every single one of them.
Wow. All right. So don't forget, when we start running these graphics, this agency is who you should call if you're needed. And we're going to talk about a little bit more things as well. I want to talk about the Agency for Persons with Disability again and go back. Can you just repeat the intellectual and/or the developmental disabilities that they are federally, or I'm sorry, Florida statute mandated to provide services for?
Certainly. Again, that's autism, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, Prader-Willi syndrome, Down syndrome, and Phelan-McDermott syndrome.
Yeah. Thank you. And because disabilities is such a broad term, you also work with individuals that manifest those types of disabilities, do you not?
We do.
Yeah. So going back to the spirit of collaboration, that person that has that disability may come to your agency first, and then you may offer them a lot of free services to help them remain independent in that community. But you would also utilize the expertise of the Agency for Persons with Disabilities?
Yes, sometimes some of the services they need might require them to contact APD or Agency for Persons with Disabilities to get on the med waiver plan, or to follow up with questions that they might have on their wait list. We would provide the services that we offer to that person.
Yeah, okay, good. So we only have a couple more minutes. I'm glad you ladies are on our show today, and we're going to go a little further in depth with some of the programs that you guys have. You offer some pretty cool things over there, and I want to make sure that we explain to our audience exactly what that is so they know why they're calling your agency. So please stay with us while we take a short break. As usual, don't forget to have your pen or pencil ready. We'll be running contact information for the Disability Achievement Center, the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, and the Aging and Disability Resource Center helpline during the break and at the end of our show.
James is 70 and a writer whose joint pain has been a story in itself. His doctor prescribed a new medication that may not be affordable, even with James's Medicare Part D plan. James called Shine. Shine volunteer counselors can guide you to money-saving prescription assistance programs, including a program that helps pay Medicare Part D plan costs for limited-income seniors. Shine costs nothing but could save you time and money. More information is available at 1-800-963-5337.
Welcome back to Aging on the Suncoast. During the first half of the show, Jody Armstrong and Nicole Reed helped us understand who and what the Disability Achievement Center is. Let's continue our discussion and delve into some specific resources this agency provides within Pasco and Pinellas counties. Jody, welcome back to Aging on the Suncoast.
Thank you.
Nicole, you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's, when we were talking a little bit earlier today about the all the cool things that you do, and I have some idea of what you all do because I work with you pretty closely in the community, but I don't pretend to know everything. And what I did not know is that you all have, in addition to all the cool wraparound ancillary types of services you do, you have 5 core services. Jody, do you want to talk a little bit about what those core services are?
Certainly. There's 5 core services, the first being information and referral, independent living skills, peer mentoring, individual and systemic advocacy, and transition.
Oh, okay.
So the first one, information and referral. That's where you asked earlier, and we talked about, do you collaborate with other agencies? We certainly do. We know where the services are in Pinellas and Pasco County. If we don't do it, we know who does. So if there's an example of somebody aging into a disability and they have insurance, we'll check their insurance first. And if we don't provide the service for, say it's a person with a visual impairment, we might refer them to the Lighthouse for their services. So it's a referral service. If we don't do it, we know who does, and that's the bottom line. Because generally, if somebody's calling, they don't know where to start. So we give you a good basis of where to launch from if we don't do it.
Yeah, and I have to imagine that all the referrals that you do make on that person, some of it is relying on their independence, if they can follow up with the information that you've given to them, and or do you have a way that you can also kind of work along with them?
As needed.
As needed.
As needed, yes. We prefer people to exercise their independence. And that's one way to show it, is to do your own follow-up.
Yeah, and certainly that's a great point of view. You're empowering them to get that information. So if I was an individual and I was seeking help, and half the time that when someone's seeking help, they've waited until they're in a crisis period. Seems to happen that way with our agency as well. Even though we try to have people investigate what aging services and disability services are. If I were to call up, then someone would answer the phone and they would help me kind of navigate some of the things. I do imagine, similar to the helpline that we offer through the Aging and Disability Resource Center, that sometimes people understand that they have one problem, and when you have a staff person talking to them about that one problem that they're articulating over there, sometimes you find 2 or 3. Is that true in your world?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And so everyone who calls in is assigned to a staff member, and that staff member just simply has that conversation and digs a little bit deeper to find out what those barriers are. Yeah,
and that's a well-trained person to help figure out what that is. And a lot of the folks that we deal with at the helpline, they had the same type of issues, so you have to serve them holistically, like we talked about. What was the second core service?
The second one is the independent living skills. And we have a very vibrant youth group, but since we're talking about Area Agency on Aging, we wanted to focus this on the elderly population, or the aging population, where we see a lot of folks who are aging into disability and helping them manage that disability. Another one would be, example would be like medication management. Teaching them how to divvy up their medications and how to sort them, and so that they're on their schedule as they should be. A lot of things, people just need a little bit of education on how to manage and move forward in their lives.
Yeah, I'm glad you're there to offer that.
Yeah.
Number 3, what was the third one that we were talking
Peer
about?
mentoring.
Oh,
Peer mentoring. As I mentioned earlier, that more than 50% of our staff and our board are persons with disabilities. So we are who we serve. And you also find benefit of persons with like disabilities learn tricks of the trade from each other. So those are, we try to match people up, and we also have a good basis of knowledge for the disabilities themselves.
yeah. What a smart idea to have leadership be representative of the population that you're serving. And yeah, good job. All right, so that was
number 3.
Okay.
And number 4 would be systemic and individual advocacy. And that's where we advocate on behalf of someone. An example that I use, we had a deaf dad and a hearing mom have a baby. And shortly after baby's born, they split, and mom petitioned court for full custody. But dad wanted to be a dad. He wanted that child. It was his. And we attended court hearings with him. We got him into parenting classes. And ultimately, he has joint custody now, where his daughter signs to him and speaks to mom. It was a great, great thing to see.
Yeah, what a cool example.
Yeah, and then on a systemic side, we look at issues that are affecting the entire disability community. Disability Achievement Center was the one who advocated for the creation of the Pinellas County Council for Persons with Disabilities. And that committee, that council, is made up of citizens throughout the county, and basically, from a disability perspective, to give input and advice to the Board of County Commissioners through the Department of Human Services, so that they're getting that disability perspective in all the decisions that they're making in the future of Pinellas County.
Yep, and that was just a recent initiative, and I know that as an area agency on aging staff member, we have a board member that also sits on there as well, and they hopefully they bring a good amount of light to the
yes, she does. She helps me out tremendously on that.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's number 4. And then number 5 is transition. Transition is, just as the term you would assume defined, any type of change. So it could be a school to work, it could be a job change, it could be a living arrangement change. That's difficult on its own, and if you have a disability, it amplifies that difficulty.
Yeah.
And so we assist through the changes.
Yeah.
So those were our 5 core services. So again, I want to wrap that up to make sure everybody understands that
please,
it's
please.
Information and referral, independent living skills, peer mentoring, systemic and individual advocacy, and transition as our 5 core services.
That's awesome.
And then we're tasked to respond to the needs of the community. This is where all the other programs fall under, because we are responding to the basic needs in our Pinellas and Pasco catchment area.
Yep, and I'm sure that that's an ever-changing game in your world, because needs, they come and they go, and they reshape and they morph and they do a whole lot of different things. And thank you for really covering those core services. And like you said before, that person that contacts your agency, they self-identify they have a disability. Services primarily are free for them. What a pretty cool thing, huh?
And we talked initially about Centers for Independent Living, and that there are 15 centers located throughout the state. Those 5 core services are offered by every single Center for Independent Living, not only in our state, but throughout the country.
Oh, that's a good point. I did not think about that. And maybe you don't know this now, and I don't want to put you on the block, but a lot of times the folks that we are serving, they live in multiple areas. So let's say that the person is living in Pasco and they live there seasonally. And then let's say that they live up in North Florida, in the Panhandle over there too. Is there ways that they can receive assistance in Pasco for a short amount of time and then have that wraparound services up in Pensacola or whatever?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
so that's
and
cool.
we work with the other Centers for Independent Living.
Yeah, so that's transportable or transferable services.
Yes, where you are is where we serve.
How consistent. That's awesome. Yeah. So Nicole, we're going to talk about you for a little while, because you got some pretty cool programs that you're doing over there. And that's in addition or all kind of delved in there. The first one that we were talking about is the home modifications. In my aging world, I know how necessarily they are. Can you Can you talk a little bit about home modifications and offer some examples of how that really is helpful within the community?
Sure, sure. Well, we are all about keeping people in their homes and aging in place, and we've found that sometimes just a minor home modification allows that to happen. Our most requested home modification are grab bars.
Grab bars.
We install a lot of grab bars.
Yeah.
We install them around the shower mostly.
Take some time and talk about what grab bars actually are, if you don't mind.
What grab bars actually are?
Yeah.
They are a bar that is installed in the shower and usually right on the outside of the shower, and it assists them to get in and out of the shower independently and safely.
And primarily in the bathroom.
Yep.
And the goal is for the grab bars?
It's all about safety and independence. So it's to be able to safely get into the shower, and it's to be able to shower and bathe independently.
Good.
We also install them around the toilet area, and sometimes in Florida especially, you have little slunk down Florida rooms and all that fun stuff. So we install them on those steps to help people get in and out.
Awesome. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't want to put you on the thing too much, but a lot of times, I kind of feel that certain people don't know what grab bars are, and they don't know the great benefit of them are. And if we're trying to encourage people, if they want to remain in the least restrictive environment, they want to age in place, these are things they need to be thinking about prior to that.
Absolutely.
And having it set up. We don't want those folks to have a fall, and then you put the grab bars in there later on. We would rather have something that was going to mitigate that. So grab bars obviously aren't the only home modification.
They're not. We also install handrails. There are lots of homes in Florida that just have 1 or 2 steps and a handrail up those steps. It makes it steady and makes it so that you can enter and access your home, again, independently and safely. So we install quite a few of those.
And a free service again.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about ramps and those types of things?
We do have a modular ramp program. They're made of aluminum. They are durable and long-lasting in the Florida climate here. They put up with the sun and the rain and all of that fun stuff. They are customizable. They come in all shapes and sizes, and so we can customize it to the property, give you access to enter and exit your home safely and independently, and we leave it there for as long as you need it.
That's great. Now, I know that you have a medical equipment program. I don't know the full name of it.
Medical Equipment Recycling Program.
Oh, okay.
So, and that is one of our most access services and programs. Folks bring by durable medical equipment in the way of mobility devices such as wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, all of that fun stuff. We also take in showering equipment, shower chairs, transfer benches, bedside commodes, all kinds of fun stuff. They come in, we clean them up, we sanitize them, repair them if they're necessary, and get them right back out the door to the next person who needs it.
That's really awesome. That's really awesome. Jody, you and I were talking about it a little earlier, and it's kind of a mutual initiative, the Diapers for Dignity program?
Diapers for Dignity, yes. That was the thank you to Area Agency on Aging for naming the program of incontinence supply provision for persons who cannot afford it. This is something that you identified, and we had always seen the need for it. And what we do, if anyone needs incontinence supplies, we will provide them free of charge. We understand that the area agency's grant covered only Pinellas County, and we were able to reach out and extend that offering into Pasco County since it's both our catchment areas, and keeping that name alive, and so the program, people know what they're looking for.
That's awesome. Yeah, and we'll offer some more information on how we can get in touch with that program too. Communication for those who are deaf and those who are hard of hearing is an issue. You have a program that assists those individuals?
We have a program that serves the deaf and hard of hearing population. A staff member, a full-time staff member, does fluent sign language, ASL, and signed English.
Oh, cool.
We have a video phone in a private office so that someone who is deaf or hard of hearing and needs to come in and use that can come in, use it, make whatever calls and business they need to do right there at the center. And our staff member is there to assist and help. We also provide alerting equipment for the deaf and hard of hearing.
That's great.
And those are pretty cool things. Fire and smoke detectors So that attaches to a strobe light, and so if there's a fire or smoke in the home, it alerts the individual who's deaf.
Big time important.
Yeah.
Now, I like to cook, but I probably like to eat more than I like to cook. And I know you offer a cooking class.
We do. We have a Cooking Matters class that's provided by Pinellas County Extension Services. They come in a couple times a year. It's a 6-week class, once a week, 2 hours long, and they go over healthy eating, budgeting, planning, meal planning, and it's all about healthy meal preparation. That's the words I'm looking for.
That's pretty cool. So teaching proper ways how to cook and not bleach out and get rid of the nutrients, but do it correctly. And we're working with the population that we serve a lot to do that as well.
And they also, they end up with the end of it is a cook-off. Yeah. And that's something that everybody enjoys.
Yeah. So short amount of time, Jody. We live in the land of beauty, but we're also, one of our bigger threats is hurricane. I know that much like we work with at the Area Agency on Aging, we help out with preparedness and then hopefully not recovery, but sometimes recovery when it comes to those. Absolutely. Can you give us a little 20-second interlude of what you do in those two realms?
Certainly. Every consumer, we go over a plan for them to encourage them to be prepared and make it down in the language that's understood, that they can prepare and how to be ready and respond to a hurricane. And we have a seat in the EOC to provide information to any of the agencies who need to know where the resources are.
That's awesome. And if anything happens, you're there just like we are, trying to do the best we can to help them recover. Jody, thank you so much for coming on our show. And Nicole, thanks so much for coming on our show. You shared a wealth of information, and we appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. We hope this month's broadcast was informative. We wouldn't have these resources without great organizations like the Disability Achievement Center and the Agency for Persons with Disabilities. We'll see you next month, and until then, we hope you maximize every resource our community has to offer.
James is 70 and a writer whose joint pain has been a story in itself. His doctor prescribed a new medication that may not be affordable, even with James's Medicare Part D plan. James called Shine. Shine volunteer counselors can guide you to money-saving prescription assistance programs, including a program that helps pay Medicare Part D plan costs for limited income seniors. Shine costs nothing but could save you time and money. More information is available at 1-800-963-5337. James is 70 and a writer whose joint pain has been a story in itself. His doctor prescribed a new medication that may not be affordable, even with James's Medicare Part D plan. James called Shine. Shine volunteer counselors can guide you to money-saving prescription assistance programs, including a program that helps pay Medicare Part D plan costs for limited income seniors. Shine costs nothing but could save you time and money. More information is available at 1-800-963-5337.